I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this podcaster was doing an interview with this gentleman, a businessman, and he had asked him, "Man, how do you stay motivated? You know, how do you continue to be motivated to do the business that you're doing?" And the guy was like, "Man, F motivation. I do believe that discipline is important, but I feel like motivation is equally or almost as equally important. I think motivation is the fuel for the fire, and discipline keeps the fire going." All right, welcome to the new episode of the Miles High Podcast. This is Miles Jr. I'm your host, and as always, the vision and goal of this podcast is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist. Always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right, so I want to talk about motivation versus discipline on this episode. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and this podcaster was doing an interview with this gentleman, a businessman, and he had asked him, "Man, how do you stay motivated? How do you continue to be motivated to do the business that you're doing?" And the guy was like, "Man, F motivation. This motivation is like unnecessary, or shouldn't be something that you think about," right? He was like, "Just be disciplined. Be disciplined. Being disciplined is more important, and it trumps motivation." And I thought about that, right? I thought about what he said, and I disagree. I disagree. But I don't disagree entirely with what he's saying, right? I do believe that discipline is important, but I feel like motivation is equally or almost as equally important as discipline, right? And that's what I wanted to have that conversation, because a lot of times I get these ideas of like what I want to discuss, and they come from things that I'm listening to, conversations that I'm having, things that I'm seeing, and I like to bring these type of things to the pod just so that I can share my opinions. And hopefully get some feedback from you guys in the comments or on whatever platform that you're watching or listening to. So I want to discuss motivation versus discipline, and I want to start with defining them both. Right. So motivation is defined as the inner drive or desire to achieve a goal. Right. And discipline is the ability to consistently apply effort to reach that goal. So I feel like they work in tandem with each other, right? I think that you need both, but I do think one is more important than the other, right? And I'm going to get to that as we progress through this part. So is one of them more important? That's the question that I'm asking. I think that they aren't as equally as important, but both of them are almost as equally as important. I think motivation is the fuel for the fire, and discipline keeps the fire going, right? So I feel like motivation gets it started, right? We're all motivated to do something in some aspect of our lives, whether that's our personal life, where we're talking about our personal health, whether that's our professional life, where we're talking about being able to take care of ourselves and our family. We're all motivated, right? And there are different types of motivations, right? There are internal motivations and there are external motivations, right? The external motivations are like rewards that we can receive, recognition, the power and influence that we get through doing or completing a task, and those are like positive, what I would term positive motivators. And then there are some negative motivators or semi-negative motivators, right? And that could be the pressure that we're under to complete, or the pressure that we're under to do what it is that we are doing or need to do. Or it could be like getting disciplined, right? All of us grew up with some authoritative figure around us, and we've been told to do something, and if you don't do it, you can feel, right? If you don't learn, you can feel. We used to have that, at least I used to have that quite a bit growing up, right? And so you're motivated to do things to avoid being, disciplined, right? Or to avoid getting a spanking, or to avoid getting scolded. So all of these are external motivators, right? They're motivators that are driven from external factors. And then there are internal motivators, right? The internal motivation that we experience come from our personal values, come from our beliefs, and then come from our personal goals, right? So things that we adhere to, the principles that we believe in, the goals that we've set for ourselves, the self-gratification that we want to feel, from accomplishing any particular task or job, or whatever that thing is that you're doing. All of those are motivators that motivate us internally. And like I said, I think that motivation gets it started, right? So let's take the example of, and this is always an easy example. This is an example that pretty much everyone uses, and it's physical health, right? We have this desire to have a certain physical physique, or we have a desire to better ourselves from a health standpoint, whether we're experiencing some health issues or whatever the case. So we set out on this journey to exercise, to eat well, to do all these things that motivate us to be better and be healthier individuals. Now, I can attest to, being motivated to go to the gym. And, I mentioned this in my first part of the year, where there's an influx of people that go to the gym January of every year, right? Everyone has this New Year resolutions where they want to be healthy, and they want to start working on their summer body from the beginning of the year. And then, February rolls around, and, the crowd dwindles, and it's less and less people that come to the gym. And I think, at the beginning of the year, everyone is motivated. Everyone is motivated to want to do something, want to act on something, want to get physically active, right? And that motivation dies. It's quite often that we are motivated to do something, or motivated to want to achieve something, and then that motivation just kind of dwindles a bit, right? And I truly think that in order for us to continue on that journey, we have to allow ourselves to develop a disciplined life, working towards it. So like whether I'm motivated to go to the gym today or not, I choose to go because I want to discipline myself in going. And that happens to me a lot. Now, I will admit, some days when I'm not feeling motivated to go, I don't go, right? I take the time to rest if I'm tired, or if I just don't feel like going, like I don't go that particular day. But what I do mentally is I have a makeup day. So there's always a day in my week for working out that I have a day that I can play with, right? So if I'm not feeling motivated on one day of the week, I have the ability not to go, because there's always a makeup day for me. And then if I go on the day that, quote unquote, is a makeup day, then I just have an extra day that I've added to my workout week. And that's kind of how I try to balance everything, right? Because we're not always going to be motivated, right? There's going to be times where we're just not feeling it. I don't feel like going. I don't want to go. I'm just not into it today. I'm not mentally there. My body aches. Going through something personally, and just can't find the motivation to go. And that happens, right? But I think we need to develop discipline. We need to somehow incorporate discipline within the journey that we're on, because discipline is going to help us to finish. Because if we're only focusing on motivation, we're definitely not going to finish. And that's what happens to people at the top of the year, like when they go to the gym, right? They have this enthusiasm and this energy that they're engulfed with, and be like, okay, I'm going to start the gym. This is my year. This is the year that I'm going to go. I'm going to complete what I start this year. And everyone goes into the new year thinking that way. And then 4 weeks go by, February rolls around, and it's harder than you expected, or it takes more, especially from a dieting aspect. It takes a lot more than you anticipated, and you just lose focus, right? You lose the motivation to want to follow through, and essentially, we just lack the discipline. We lack the discipline to push beyond what gratifies us, right? In hopes of looking at the bigger picture and saying, okay, I'm going to sacrifice, taste in food for a while, or sacrifice my indulgences in my diet, so that I can reach an ultimate goal, so that I can get healthier, right? So that I can better myself from a physical standpoint. So how do we cultivate motivation and discipline? And I think, I use three things mentally to ensure that I am motivated to do what I want to do, but I'm more so disciplined in continuing, right? Because like I said, motivation isn't always going to be there. And, just going back to the part that I listened to that spurred this topic, I think that's what the speaker was trying to say. Like when he said, man, forget motivation, focus on discipline. I don't think he was saying that, man, motivation isn't important, because I think he was focusing more on the fact that we're not going to be motivated all the time, right? We're not going to want to do things all the time. We're not going to want to get up. We're not going to want to work the late hours. We're not going to want to be motivated, or we're not going to be motivated to want to do things that we just may not feel like doing that day. But if we could incorporate discipline, right? If we could be disciplined in our habits, we could be disciplined in our processes, we could be disciplined in our work ethics, right? The methods that we use. Just hone in on the discipline that we need to apply in order for us to keep going. Then we're eventually going to reach our goals, right? So how do we cultivate motivation and discipline? The first thing I do, and I recommend you do, is to set clear and incremental goals, right? So obviously we have a long-term goal that we want to achieve, whether that long-term is termed for a year, 12 months, or whether it's less than a year, or whether it's 5 years, like whatever that long-term goal is, like we set the bar, like this is what I want to achieve. But once we do that, I think we need to work our way backwards to say, okay, if I want to lose 20 pounds, let's start with losing 2. Right? Let's work on from 2. Let's work on losing 4, and you incrementally get to the goal that you've set. And I think that's how we can reignite our motivation, right? Because sometimes when we go off motivation, right, we're eager to accomplish the larger goal, whatever that goal is, and then the motivation sometimes dies when it doesn't happen when we want it to. As soon as we wanted to, or how we think it should happen. We're less motivated. I think we need to focus more on the incremental goals, right? Setting goals incrementally to achieve the larger goal, so that once we reach those goals, those incremental goals, like you're inspired, right? You're re-energized, you're re-motivated to be like, oh man, okay, I lose 2 pounds, okay, let's work on 4, right? Because we're accepting the fact that we're not always going to be motivated, right? But we're allowing ourselves to reignite that motivation with the incremental goals that we're going to hopefully achieve. So set clear and incremental goals in order to cultivate the motivation and discipline that we need. The second thing that I suggest we do is we establish routines and habits. Now, routines and habits can become very mundane. Okay, I know it could be boring. It's could be the cause even of losing the motivation that we initially started out with, because we have to eat greens every day. We have to eat chicken breast every day. My wife. So on my fitness journey and the diet that I'm on, I eat a lot of chicken breast. Right now, if you're a chicken breast eater yourself, you know that chicken breast is one of like the most boringest thing to eat. There's only so much you can do with chicken breast, right? And literally, I think I ate chicken breast. There was a period where I ate chicken breast for like 4 months straight. I'm talking lunch and dinner. That's all I ate, chicken breast. And like my wife would get to the point, like, chicken breast again? Like, you ain't tired? Like, you don't, like, how are you going to, and like, sometimes she'll eat it, right? She sometimes like it. But a lot of the times it's like, bro, I ain't eat no chicken breast today. Like, you got to either make something else or I can make me something else or whatever. And it's all because of the routine that I'm in, right? I'm trying to establish routines and develop habits, right? Good habits. I went as far, and again, she teases me now because I have a food scale now, right? So I literally weigh everything, and to the point where I'm weighing snacks. So if I get like some peanuts, some almonds, some mixed nuts, I weigh it, right? Because I'm conscious of, all right, I have to measure out my calorie intake for the day, and that's how pinpoint that I want to get to. You say?
I said regimented.
Yeah, that's how regimented I am, and it annoys her because, like, if we're eating something together, especially if we go out to eat, right? I'd be like, all right, what is this? Let's see what this sauce is. And I plug it into the app I have on my phone and be like, all right, I can eat 2 of these. I can't eat no more than that. And I only could order X, Y, Z off the menu. And she's like, oh my goodness, bro. Like, just live a little, like, eat. You know what I mean? And, she teases me, but she fully understands, like, why, like, the process that I go through. And it all has to do with me trying to develop and establish a routine and build good habits. And that honestly helps in the process of working on my discipline. Now, am I able to stick with that for a long period of time? If you think 4 and 5 months is a long period of time, then the answer is yes. That's not long to me. I would look at it more as like a 12-month period. There are times where I fall off, right? Whether it's, I start traveling or I start taking like breaks, right? And because there are like times where you could have like cheat meals, and I'm just talking about like physical health perspective. There are times where you could have cheat meals, and sometimes I may overindulge in those cheat meals or extend the days to have cheat meals or whatever. So, there are some setbacks, but it's all about balance, right? I don't want to demotivate myself. So sometimes I allow myself to indulge just so that I can be inspired and motivated to get back to it, to get back to the routine, to get back to a disciplined lifestyle. But that really takes the intentional fortitude to really build a routine for yourself and develop good habits, establish good habits. And then lastly, assess and refuel, right? An assessment is just like measuring where you are. Like, if the goal was to lose 20 pounds, like, where am I today? Okay, I've lost 10 pounds. Okay, cool. I got 10 more to go. So let's get back to it, right? And let's try to get this faster than, let's try to get these next 10 faster than I got the first 10. So it's all about like assessing, what am I doing right? Am I doing this right? Am I getting to achieving these goals, these incremental goals in a timeline that is justifiable, that is appropriate? Should I adjust things? What can I do? Can I do some things better? Can I extend or lessen the days that I have cheat meals? And you could apply this to any part of your life, right? Whatever that is that you're doing, whether it's business and you determining, okay, I'm going to work X amount of hours a day. Some days I can work more. Some days I'm going to work less because I want to, allot some time to my family and my kids, whatever that case is for you. But it's assessing and then refueling yourself to go back at it. I don't think we should ignore the fact that we need motivators. We need to motivate ourselves. But I think it is more important for us to develop and live a disciplined lifestyle. Because discipline it's the thing that is going to get us to achieve the goal, right? Sticking to it, staying at it. I look at LeBron James and the talent that he has, right? But the NBA has, a little over 400 players in the league in any given year. And there's always a best player, right? And the reason why he's been at the level he's at, even now, approaching the age of 40 years old, 21 years into the league, he's able to do the things that he's doing because he lives a disciplined lifestyle, right? He has a routine that he goes through each day. Now, looking from the outside in, like, it looks boring, it looks hard, it looks it's like something like you don't want to do. Like, man, I can't do that. That's too difficult. But if you're serious about it, right? If you're serious about the goal that you set out to achieve, then the motivating factor will be to establish and live that disciplined lifestyle, to go through those routines, to develop those good habits. So I do think that discipline is important and is probably the key factor, but I think motivation is just as important, right? I don't think we should do away with or not worry about if we're motivated or not, right? Because we're just not going to be motivated all the time. And persons who maybe are motivated all the time just are in different places in their lives at that particular moment, right? And I think that's entirely fine. And, I don't want to say that because of where, that guy is, he's wrong in his view. I just think that we should be open to different views, right? Open to different aspects of who is motivated, when they're motivated, who is more disciplined, when they're more disciplined, right? Because I'm 100% more disciplined than my wife. That doesn't mean my wife isn't disciplined in like other aspects of her life that I'm not disciplined in, and I think we just need to be sensitive and empathetic to like the differences that we have as human beings, right? We all do things, we all see things differently, and trying to have, her, for example, do things the way I want to do it. Like imagine if I forced her to eat chicken breast for 4 months straight for lunch and dinner.
I wouldn't be here.
Like that wouldn't bode well. And I know that. So I wouldn't force her to do it. I wouldn't force her to be on the same diet that I'm on, or force her to have the same workout routines that I have, or force her to do anything that I've developed as a habit for myself. Right. I would hope that, through the process, it helps her or causes her to develop good habits as she goes, so that she can develop a disciplined lifestyle as well. And that's how I think we can work together to encourage and impact individuals around us, right? Because I think deep down inside each of us, we all want a little more discipline, right? We are in awe of persons that we identify as being a very disciplined individual, being able to do things even when they don't want to do it, right? That's what discipline is. And I think if the sooner we can get to those aspects of our lives when we ignore whether we're motivated or not, but we still push through, then I think the quicker we're going to be able to achieve the goals that we've set. All right, so that's set clear incremental goals, establish routines and habits, and then assess and refuel. I think doing those three things, it helps us to cultivate our motivation and our discipline as we go through all of these processes in life. All right, so that brings us to the portion of the pod where I leave with you a milestone. And the milestone for today is simply, when motivation dies, let discipline take its place. Like I said, we are all going to lose motivation in accomplishing and achieving goals at a certain point. But I think if we allow ourselves to develop these good habits and be disciplined and live a disciplined lifestyle and let the discipline take the place of the lack of motivation, we're going to achieve our goals much faster. So when motivation dies, let discipline take its place, and you're going to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. All right, I'm rooting for you. All right, so that brings us to the end of this pod. As always, the goal and vision of this pod is to entertain, educate, and elevate you miles high above your fears, your doubts, and any limitations that you may think exist, always knowing that those limitations only exist in your mind. All right, until next time, you guys stay blessed.